In this episode, I'm joined by Juan Murray, a real estate veteran with RE/MAX Destiny in Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts. We're breaking down how AI isn't just changing how agents work, it's becoming their second brain. From market insights to lifestyle upgrades, Juan shares how AI is elevating both his business and life. Let's get into it. Are you a real estate agent eager to unlock the power of AI to boost your productivity and scale your business? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, the weekly podcast that takes AI from a buzzword to a business tool, making it approachable and actionable for agents like you. I'm your host, Rajeev Sajja, and each week I interview agents from across the country who are using AI to transform their careers. Join us on this journey to become an AI skilled agent and take your real estate career to the next level. Now let's get to this episode. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. Today I have Juan Murray from Juan Real Estate Group at RE/MAX in Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts, which I never knew existed, but it's right outside of Boston. So everybody knows Boston. So Juan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rajeev, thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, I gave you and you've been in real estate since 1994. And your bio says you pursue excellence for your clients.
That's correct.
And so you and I connected. I don't know how we connected, but we got connected somehow. And I would love for the listening audience to kind of get to know you a little bit. Maybe we start there with your background and backstory.
Yeah, sure. I was doing real estate when we were pulling off the side of the road and there were still payphones. And I'm sure a lot of agents that are on the call don't even know what that is, right?
What is that? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And instead of GPSs, we were, using the map book atlas and running into paper roads. And, instead of, texting and driving, we would be looking at our maps and trying to find places to go. So, that's me. And if I have to tell you my age, then, the conversation is over.
And so how did you get into real estate? And you're like 1994 to 2025 is a long time.
Yeah.
Walk us through your journey.
Sure. I had been doing sales for a bit. And I think I remember walking through the store and I walked by this counter. I think it was Macy's at the time. And I was walking by the fragrance counter and I heard this woman say to another woman, she's like, man, I've been doing this for, 20 or 30 years and I can't wait to retire. And it was at that moment that I said to myself, like, I'm never going to be the one saying that. I always want to, start a business and get into a business where I would be my own business person. And I looked at a number of different things and I'm like, you know what, real estate is one of those things where, if you're sitting across the table and everyone's talking about properties and everyone has, a piece of real estate, you're all talking the same game. So real estate was it, and it was easy. I didn't have to be a genius, and here I am.
Yeah, no, obviously you've done well for being in the industry, surviving and thriving for the most part for 30 plus years. So what was your first light bulb moment with AI? I mean, we're talking from payphones to like leading edge technology with AI. What was your first light bulb moment, Juan, for AI?
Yeah. It's hard to pinpoint that one moment, but I look at it as like this. It's been like a steady, if you have a good hot sauce and the flavor just kind of builds and builds and builds and builds, and you just want more of it. It's been more like that. I mean, I remember, like still running around in 2020 when COVID hit, we were still like heavy into it. And then all of a sudden I started hearing this conversation later in the year about, artificial intelligence. And it just kind of perked my interest. And, from then, it's been like I've gone down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is. If you don't know what you're doing, it's definitely a rabbit hole for sure. So, and you and I have spoken a couple of times about your use of AI. So let's kind of get into that a little bit, in terms of specificity around things that you're using that have helped increase your productivity, collapse time, all of those things. So let's start with specific things you and your team are using AI for.
Yeah. So I'll give you a very recent example. We work a lot with past clients and referrals. we have one referral and one past client. Now, since 2020, us realtors have been kind of running around and covering a lot more real estate than we did before, right? Because we have people who are, selling their homes in the city and moving out to the suburbs. Um, these two particular clients were looking in areas that at least an hour to a couple hours away from where I would typically, you know, represent a buyer at. And one of them had no idea where they wanted to live. They knew they wanted to live somewhere in Western Mass. The thing that I had going for me is obviously they trusted me because they were a referral. And before, it would probably have taken me, well, before I would have referred the business out, or it would have taken me forever to get back to them to try to figure out, how to go about it. But I think you had just done a podcast about like super Chat GPT, where it was like Chat GPT Pro Plus or something like that. And I decided to jump in and use that. And I was able to put together a very succinct plan of action for them, which helped me explore all the different areas in Western Mass based on some deep conversations we had with them, based on what their lifestyle was and where they wanted to live. And we then narrowed it down to 2 or 3 towns. And I was able to pull out market analysis and give them average price per square foot, et cetera, et cetera. And within a month, probably 6 weeks, we have a property under agreement. Now,
Wow.
that would never have happened. I guarantee you.
That's crazy. Yeah. So for the listeners, I'm assuming you got the $200 a month plan for that?
Yep, we did.
Okay, so that's the pro plan, and it is you use Operator, which is their AI agent,
Mm-hmm.
to do the search with all the specs. It's almost like it's better than a custom GPT because it works autonomously is the right word,
Yep.
based on your instructions, and it does a lot of things beyond the scope of a custom GPT, which is a very basic version of an AI agent. But the true agentic AI is really systems like Operator for OpenAI go and do things autonomously. So that's a great example. So and you said you also did market research. Let's kind of dig into that a little bit. And what did you use for that specifically? Any AI tools there?
Well, I put together a custom AI, thanks to you again. I have your 3, I think you've got like 2 or 3 pieces. You've got Deal of the Week, which I know someone else has that I use.
Yeah.
But you also put together a custom AI. And before you provided that to us, I didn't really know like where to go to do the custom piece. But your custom AI instructions were so great that I was able to kind of go through because I knew what I wanted it to do. I knew that I wanted it to take the information that I provided, interpret it, analyze it, and come up with a very user-friendly version of what this information tells you. So obviously, I still had to do the work with regards to, pulling an initial market analysis. I upload that, and it really just from there on makes life significantly easier. And it's a different conversation when you're having with, a buyer or a seller, where before I was just presenting or taking time putting together a presentation, where now, I do the CMA, plug it in, and it spits out a PDF. I put it in Canva, and I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. So, I tell sometimes people hear all the ideas from our guests like yourself on the podcast. Some people struggle with where do I begin, right? Like, where do I start? The difference between like you and me and some of our listeners is we've just had too many light bulb moments with AI. So we sort of know what's possible. But doesn't mean everything we do works, right? It's like a little bit of experimentation is needed. And stuff that gets shared is stuff that works versus what doesn't work, And I've come up with like 4 things I tell people to kind of look at in terms of what is things you do for your job role, agent, whatever you're doing. One is, what tasks do you do that are repetitive? You
Mm-hmm.
repeat them over and over again. Time-intensive tasks,
Mm-hmm.
data heavy, like the market analysis stuff is data heavy. Spreadsheet heaven, I call it, right? Data
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
heavy. And then the fourth one is energy draining. Is there
Yeah.
stuff in, like I'd rather enjoy my work. So if there's energy draining and AI can help me with it, it makes my job more fun. So
Yeah.
if you find those four things and do a time audit, I think the things that you need to have AI help you with will emerge rise to the top.
Yeah.
That
I
right?
agree. And the simplest thing is, you can talk to it on your phone,
Oh yeah.
and many folks say just start talking about ideas and just keep going and just keep going and keep going. And sometimes you just don't know where that's going to take you, but I just open it up and say, well, I have a situation. Here's what I'd like to do. Here's what I'm thinking about. You know, give me the steps that I need to take to, kind of begin to process this. And then it gives you some steps. And you're like, well, what about this? What about that? It's really, it's, I hear people say it's like an assistant, right? And it really is like an assistant when you use it that way. It just keeps digging and digging and digging. And then when you find something that, you're like, aha, like that's it, then you can kind of even take that and wrap that up. And it's just crazy because it takes, I don't know, sometimes you think about stuff and you just never get to it, but now you can think about it and talk to it, delete, and it kind of happens. It's crazy. Now you still have to like research and make sure, it's everything's cool, it's in your voice and stuff like that. But it's just taken the time that I've taken to do stuff and just collapsed it significantly.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I also believe not just collapsing time, but I think it elevates your work also in terms of the output you produce.
Yes.
Just doesn't like in your case. I mean, imagine the amount of time it would have taken you to do the market analysis or search for those homes in an area where the person wasn't even not sure where they were going to live,
Yeah.
and giving you that the time, and the output is much better if you learn and master AI over time, right? Do you
Yes.
see that as well for yourself?
Yeah, I do. And I tell them, I'm like, look, I don't know too much about this area. However, I know how to get the information that makes a difference, and I know how to do real estate. And the presentation that I was able to pull made me look like an expert in
Mm.
that area. And it made them feel as if they were talking to the right person. First of all, I told them the truth. I'm like, I didn't say, hey, I know everything about this area when I didn't. But it made them feel like, wow, this guy did a lot of work to get us to this place. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about searching for homes through operator, market analysis. What else are you using AI for?
I read this book called Full Fee Real Estate Agent by Chris Voss a while
Mm.
back, or either read or I think I'm more audible than a reader. And this is when I was running the office here, and I put together a training program using the book and using ChatGPT to put together like an 8-session training class that we provided, 2 sessions a month, and we created a mastermind around it. And I mean, I would never have been able to pull that off.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
yeah.
As you mentioned a book, this is the first time on the podcast. Just a couple of weeks ago, Alan Dalton, who's an industry leader, recently released a book that I contributed to among 12 other people. And the title of the book is Agent to AI Gent. And it's sort of like, how do you excel as an agent in the world of AI?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll put the link in the show notes for the Amazon order, the Audible book or Kindle book or the physical copy. And I would encourage agents that want to excel in the world of AI, considering we're a real estate AI flash podcast, it might be a worthwhile book to get and read. And what I enjoyed about contributing to the book, Juan, is not just my piece of it, which I was honored to do. it interviews some of the best agents and the brightest agents on their best practices on how they're
Mhm.
incorporating it. And in almost all the cases, what I found was AI is your second brain, not your only brain.
Mhm.
Big difference, right? So you
Yeah.
got to kind of put human in the loop. So since you mentioned the book, I want to put a plug in for Alan Dalton and all the contributors to that book, Agent to AI Gent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agent AI Gen. I'm getting that.
Yeah. It just dropped. It just dropped at the time of this recording. So, yeah, cool. So, what are other ways? Any other thing before I get to the final couple of questions I have for all my guests?
You know, I never send an email without putting it in chat anymore. I used to, well, I still use Grammarly a bit,
Yeah,
but no email goes out of my box without putting it in chat. No response. Sometimes if I'm stuck on a response, I would put the email that I received inside of chat and then just kind of play with how I would like to respond and figure out what comes out. And
yeah,
then when I find something, I would send it. So I mean, it's really become like second nature
yeah,
for me. So even to the simplest thing is, you know, one prompt, refresh, or I forget what my prompt is, but da email. And then there was a piece that you came up with recently that said, challenge some of my thoughts,
yeah.
make it a little bit differently. Don't just give me what I want to hear or what you think I want to hear. Like mix it up a little bit. So I'm starting to use that and realizing that,
Good.
oh, okay, well, there's a deeper way, but still you can still respond in that email in like 10 minutes where it would have taken me like 2 days.
100%. 100%. That's what I do now. I basically spit out everything I want to write in the email, even I starting writing the email. Most
Hmm.
people aren't good writers, at least let's call it out, right? They're
Yeah.
not articulate. You just have to look at listing descriptions. You'll know,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so if you spit out what you want and have it write a version, I think you're faster to the finish line, and then you curate it and then you publish it, right?
Yeah.
So great takeaways. I think the use of Operator Pro for the search, market analysis, the book piece that you talked about, and
Mhm.
also in just simple productivity enhancements with the email stuff are great value adds that I'm
Yeah.
sure listeners are going to enjoy. Anything else before I get to the final two questions?
You know what I just did? So everyone kind of struggles with this whole kind of ideal weight kind of health thing, right? So I have this fitness app, and no one eats the exact same portions or the exact same things that are in this fitness app, right? So I took your custom GPT and I was like, all right, give me a way so I can put in like what I'm eating today and have it show up as a formula with macros, et cetera, that I can plug in and track what I'm eating. I'm not looking to be perfect, like none
Yeah,
of it's perfect, but I'm looking to get a sense. And now all I do is I say blah, 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 blah. I plug it in and it's there. So now I'm using it more. Before I wasn't using it because I was like, oh, I have to put in sweet potato, 3 ounces. I don't know what I ate. So just like silly things like that. Well, it's not really silly, but it's kind of like a lifestyle piece where you can use it
100%.
to enhance that,
And
right?
that's a great example because I also have a health GPT that sort of tracks based
Mhm.
on my goals, etc. But I think the best uses of AI sometimes are personal, not just professional.
Yeah.
Just like our phone, we use it personally too, not just professionally. So AI is just like that, right? So great takeaways, Juan. I'd love to get to the final two questions I ask all my guests. You've been in the industry for 30 plus years now. If I were to ask you, if you were a new agent today, what would your one piece of advice be for your younger self?
I would dig into systems before I would dig into the shiny objects.
Mm, great
You know,
advice.
everybody is selling you something for $29.95,
Yeah.
right? Um, and obviously, if we had Chat GPT back then, the
That would
system
be
would
the $20 subscription you'd buy. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think that's the one biggest thing that I would do differently. Yeah.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. Lastly, I don't know if you're a book or a podcast person, Juan, but
Audible more than book. Podcasts. My phone is lit up with podcasts.
so if you had to pick one podcast or book that has been deeply influential, more influential than anything else you've heard or read, what would that one be?
So I have to use two because your podcast has been super influential. I cannot not give you props for that. So that's the first thing.
Thank you.
But I had an opportunity to read a book recently, and it's called Becoming Your Own Banker by this guy named Nelson Nash.
Wow.
And
Becoming Your Own Banker.
Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. And it basically talks conceptually about using certain life insurance products to understand finance and to begin over time to borrow from yourself instead of borrowing, credit card debt, mortgages, how to potentially finance a flip using your own money kind of thing. And that pretty much kind of changed my whole concept of finances and a few things that I would do and have done differently kind of going forward. So I think from real estate is one thing, but ultimately it's about lifestyle and being able to make choices and being able to make your own choices at your own time.
Well said. Well said. That's a. I've not heard that book. I'm going to make a note of that for sure and get it. So Juan, this has been fun. I appreciate you taking the time to share some of your insights on how you're leveraging AI with our audience. I'm sure it's going to be fun for them to listen and apply. Thank you for taking the time.
All right. Thank you, Rajeev. I totally appreciate you, man. Thank you for what you're doing for the community. I love it.
Yep. And continued success in greater Boston, Massachusetts area.
Yay. Amen.
That's right. Take care.
Thanks.
You made it to the end. Nice. My goal with this podcast is to elevate your AI skills every week. If you found value in the show, your goal is to follow, share with a fellow agent, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave us a review as it helps us reach more agents like you.